Let's talk about that first. Let's talk about that first.
Welcome back to the second hour of the broadcast. So glad you're with us this morning. Of course, what everyone is talking about today, including us around here, this is the cover of USA Today this morning. Terror returns. Talking, of course, about the bomb blast in Boston at the Boston Marathon yesterday. And I heard something this morning that I thought was very interesting on the air. I was listening to Kid Craddock, one of the radio talk show hosts in the morning here. And he was saying that he was wondering why when we talk about how you can go on the internet and get things to buy a bomb and you can make one in an hour and it's so easy to do. He said, if it's so easy to do, why doesn't it happen more often? And he said it gave him comfort to think that the reason this doesn't happen more often is because people are inherently good. And I thought that brought up a really interesting point. And what do you think about that? I think
yes,
there's
I think the majority of people are. I think more than the majority. But it only takes one cuckoo, you know?
Right.
This
Yeah.
is why whoever did this has some real mental health problems. That's why our focus needs to be on mental health.
I've been saying
this
that.
Is huge.
I agree.
Yeah.
I've been saying that. I really want to see
He
us
didn't
do.
use a gun, you know, and cuckoos are always going to find one source or another. If
Right.
they want to take you down, they'll find
And
it.
this backs your argument that you've always made about gun control. Is it doesn't matter what the weapon is. If someone's kookity cuckoo, it's gonna, it
And
doesn't
there was
matter
a
how.
stabbing. Somebody went wild again, stabbing people on a bus. And this is mental health problems. This is what we should be screaming
Even
about.
if this turns out to be a terrorist attack where there was an agenda, there's still an element of mental illness to it. It doesn't matter.
You really do have to be crazy. Something's got to be wrong to be able to do this.
Yeah.
And and you're right on point. And I've been saying it. Every time we talk about these incidents happening, whether it's guns or stabbings, it really does go back to mental illness. There's something going wrong, and I think our country's got to start rallying around that more because it's such a taboo subject. Nobody wants to talk about it.
Right.
And another thing is, we have to have a driver's license, we have to have a fishing license, we have to have all kinds of licenses, but you don't have to have a license to be a parent. And so many kids grow up today with parents that are completely wrong to be parents.
Well, and I think
so
sometimes
there
there's
are-
mask problems too with prescription drugs. Not that those
Yeah.
can't be helpful, but I feel like it tends to just mask the problem and it just keeps
That's
perpetuating.
right.
How about a license to be a citizen, to be a U.S. citizen, as far as real background checks and mental health screenings? And I wonder how far we are away from that.
Well,
I
when
mean,
you
if you're
start,
born here,
but
you're
here's
here.
the deal. See, this is the double-edged
But
sword.
if you're not, and you offer citizenship to someone else who's not from here,
All right, background checks. That's all sounds well and good. Except if some yo-yo comes in and says, well, let's check on him about everything. I'm going to go back in his past and see all this stuff. Then we've got, nothing is simple.
Yeah.
Nothing.
And Lisa,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, a lot of the tragedies that have happened recently in the last year or two have been American citizens, people born and raised right here in the U.S.
And
And we're
they're-
not people from outside
They
of the
don't
country.
think this is an Al Qaeda.
They don't know.
They don't.
They
no,
don't know.
they're saying the reason they're saying this, and Giuliani was on this morning. He said they always tell you in advance. In other words, they make a big deal. They come in and say we did this because they want the credit for it. So when there's no word on it. We think it's an American terrorist.
There was on WFAA this morning, they were interviewing a gentleman who was, he's a first responder, an emergency medical person. And he said that in situations like this, it's usually very mapped out. And he used a term that I'd never heard before. He said when there's one bomb blast, that's called the come hither bomb. That's they wait for everybody to show up on the scene, all the emergency responders, and then they blow up the
I
second
saw
one.
that, then they blast it. It's that strategic. Can
And
you
I thought, my
imagine?
God, that there's a name for it and there's a pattern for it is just sickening.
And let me
isn't
tell you
it?
what I'm concerned about is next week with the opening of the new Bush Library.
Oh, yeah, and
We're
heightened
gonna have-
security there, of course.
Yes, all of our past presidents as well as our current standing president all in one place with a lot of people.
That's
so
why
they're
we
tightening
wonder
up
if they'll
security
change
here.
that.
That's why
though.
we
I
need
wonder.
to have on this program somebody in security or national intelligence to tell us what our city is doing to mobilize in case of something like this.
Yeah, you know
In
they're
other
on it.
words, we've got to have somebody on this show.
Well, and I do, if something positive has to come out of it. I am excited to see how many people have pitched in and helped. I mean, I think that really
That's
shows us
always
there are a
uplifting,
lot
yeah.
of really good people helping strangers, and I love that when things like this happen, it's nice to see that everyone comes together and is
They
unified.
do.
So
That's right, Hillary.
Gives you a good feeling.
The opportunity in the chaos.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. It's
Bring
with
our country
heavy
together.
hearts today, though, because there
Yeah.
were 3 people who died and 150 people injured. Most of those injuries, amputations, and it's just horrible, horrible news.
And one baby
But
boy, 8 years old.
a little 8-year-old boy, one of the victims. Yeah.